I have a bazillion questions to ask you.
Of course, of course. Let me go a little bit here so you can have a little more light. Let's do this.
So let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about your background, where you were born and raised. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yes, well, I was born in Venezuela and I also was raised there. And, I always had that sensitivity for cooking. I remember one of my first meal that I always say this I made this arepa breakfast with eggs scrambled. We call it huevos pericos and the arepitas and the café con leche. And I woke up my parents. Literally, I had, the kitchen full of flour and a mess and a picnic in the middle of the living room. And that's what we had breakfast. And, that was at 6 years old. So it was, my parents didn't know if they wanted to be upset or just laugh about it. They decided just to laugh about it. and that's how, kind of always my sensitivity for cuisine. Then, if you move forward, when I was in high school, my I would say excuses to group studies was for me to grab all my friends and I would make these incredible meals. And I would just, before going to study, I would just, plant it on the table. So my friends now on Facebook say, Lorena, do you remember when we were in high school and you used to prepare this and that and, the pastas and the sauces? And I'm like, yeah, I remember. So I think that I always had that bug in me.
That's so
and then,
funny.
after going to after going to law school, I said, this is not for me. Let me go into what I'm passionate about. And that's when I started, going to Johnson & Wales University and working in different restaurants and moving forward. Here I am.
I know, it was surprising. I saw, well, first of all, I think you were bribing your friends, your study group with food, basically, is what you were doing. But I read that you went to study law and, just knowing what you do these days, I was like, wow, that's surprising that that's what she wanted to start with. And then, you totally transitioned and you realized that wasn't for you. So.
That's right. Well, my mother is an attorney, my brother as well. So it was kind of, I graduated very young. I was about to be 17 years old when I was already out of high school. So, for me, it was my parents is like, you're not going to go and just like do nothing. You're going to go to school. I didn't know really what I wanted to do. So law school, they always said, this is something that you're going to be able to use. They're going to teach you to think logically. And whatever you decide to study first, this is going to be a great foundation. And it definitely was.
Well, that's good then. So there was definitely a good reason to do it, and you still have that as a background. So that's great.
Absolutely.
Do you think are there any other experiences as a kid like that inspired you, that shaped you in terms of food besides like you're just like growing up, like maybe travel or mentors or anybody?
I was going to tell you that, yes, I had the fortune to travel all over the world. I was able to be even in China and in Japan at a very early age. I actually had the chance to go twice. Then the second chance when I was already in culinary school and doing my travels. Yeah, I was exposed to many cultures in Europe, in Asia, in South America. And, my parents love to travel. So since early age, they always taught me to try everything at least once. And
That's
I think
great.
that, we are as good as our techniques and the palate that we have, right? How we train our palate to taste different ingredients. And I think that's kind of, I think that I was very open to try everything since I was very little. And because I travel so much, I was able to see not only the difference in cultures, but the similarity in cultures when I used to travel. When I went to Indonesia and seeing the ingredients that we use in Venezuela and in Colombia, and then see them over there and the same herbs. So I'm like, okay, so this is something very interesting. So, that's kind of the things that in different cultures, and of course in Latin America, what makes us different, but also what makes us the same. And that is an asset that I have here living in Miami. These are the doors of Latin America. So I've been able to cook the food that I make, the food that I grew up, all the influences of the countries that I grew up with and that I also lived, like Argentina. I spent tremendous amount of time in Peru and Mexico. So being here in Miami is like having a little bit of all those countries available to me in terms of ingredients. And that's why I have that representation of Latin American cuisine. I wanted to be the person that represents Latin cuisine here in the United States as a culture that unites us all. It's just one thread, same ingredients, different techniques, but you're going to be able to see it and feel it as soon as you walk into the door of Chica.
Right. How would you describe your personal cuisine style? Like what makes you unique? What's your take on everything?
Fresh, modern, Latin. that's the three words that I always say. And it took me a little while to kind of define it. It is Latin cuisine because I really respect the techniques of each influence that I apply. It's that fusion, but at the same time, it's one culture. Modern because it's in today's age. I wanted to make food and recipes that resonate with, the people that come to our restaurants today. And modern, it's fresh, it's modern, in the presentation, is vibrant. It's all about my personality that you're going to be able to see in those dishes.
I would imagine you're vibrant on a Zoom, so I can only imagine like your food. So
can you imagine? So, tons of spices, aromatics, citrus. I mean, everything that calls the Latin culture from Argentina all the way to Venezuela and Mexico.
Tell me a little bit about the restaurant that you have. So, because I know you have Chica and it's multiple locations, and then tell me also about the airport restaurants as well. Yes. We have a lot to talk about your restaurant.
Of course. So let me start about Chica. It's my venture with John Kunkel 50X Group. And it started about 6 years ago, in which, I was ready to define my cuisine and ready to open a restaurant. And John Kunkel also was ready to open a Latin cuisine establishment. And we joined forces and we created Chica, a fantastic concept that is exactly that, the celebration of Latin cuisine. I was able to explore all my dishes, everything that I have worked on for so many years, and bring it to that upscale. So Vegas opened up at the Venetian Resort. John is there with also different concepts, and Yardbird that has been there for so many years. So Vegas called us first, and that's what we opened in 2015. It's been already 4.5 of almost 5 years. Beautiful restaurant. We actually are doing a makeover right now, which super excited to reopen in a couple of weeks. Then Miami, coincidentally enough, it is my hometown. I mean, between my culinary love, which is my office where I produce everything, the restaurant in my house, I'm like literally a mile away from each. So, I have to cross to go to my office. I have to go to Chica. When I'm in Chica, I'm on my way to my home. So it's just natural. Great. I'm there every day. It became, very fast, our mothership. And that is such a incredible way of presenting Chica here in Miami, because that food doesn't need introduction. Maybe in Vegas, you need to introduce it a little bit more, explain it a little bit more. But here in Miami, everybody knows what is arepas, everybody knows what is cachapa. So everybody knows what is a pan de bono and a mole and chimichurri. So it was very easy to kind of introduce a restaurant here. And now I am so thrilled, definitely in the bucket list, to be in Aspen. Imagine, I'm in the base of the Ajax Mountain by the Little Nail Residences, and it's such a beautiful place. I think everybody is so in the need of something like this, different, with a vibe, with being able to do the cazuelas and the soups in the winter, and then throw, the grill barbecues outside in the patio for the summer and the spring. So that allows me to be so creative and really expands my menu for the season. So I'm super excited. In That's Miami, awesome. It's only one season all year round.
I know. You're lucky. I think you're lucky. I know sometimes people are like, they want the seasons, but I think you're lucky. So
I love it because now I'm really going to be able to showcase what my cuisine does in all these different type of environments, and I cannot be more excited. I mean, our brunch are so special, and I just can feel that people are going to be coming from the gondola or coming down the mountain. They're going to see the music and the vibe and the food, and they're going to say, I have to go there. And that is something that I want to call it, just by the feeling. You're going to feel that you want to just walk in.
Absolutely. I'm excited. I want to go. I'm going to book my ticket soon.
Please do so. We'll have you over anytime.
Great. I love that. I'll take that invitation. So now, what about the airport restaurants? Tell me about that, because that's interesting. I feel like, I don't know when that became kind of a little bit more of a popular thing, but I'm so glad it started to happen, because so many years ago, as we were traveling, there was nothing in the airport, and there was no reason to want to even stay in the airport. And now you kind of plan a trip and you're like excited that you're in such and such terminal, because you're like, oh my God, I'm going to go eat it wherever, So tell me a little bit about that and how that happened.
Of course, Miami, Atlanta, Dallas. I've been with my partners at HMA's host for so many years. And the way that it happened in one of my first restaurants, Element, the entire team of directors and executives for HMS Host walk into my restaurant. They called me in. I was inside the kitchen and I sat down with them and I said, listen, if you had a airport restaurant, what would you serve? And I'll say, I'll be right back. And I went into the kitchen and I just started cooking up different things that you can take in your hand and food that are, with integrity, that they're no hold. I'm against commissaries and having food staying and sitting for hours. So I created a concept of Latin cuisine for the traveler, always with a healthy mind. When it comes to preparations and the process of what my menu was going to suffer. And it was a hit. They loved it. We started in Miami. Then we went to Atlanta. Now we're in Dallas in Terminal A, 31, between 31 and 33. Very successful, thank God. And it's a brand that continues to grow. But Cocina is a concept of Latin cuisine for the traveler that is easy to carry, that you can, eat there, that is hearty, that is warm. It fills your heart as well, and you're ready to, jump on a plane and just continue.
Yeah, it makes traveling like such a pleasure, right? It's something,
yes.
Just makes it that much better. So I love
that. It does.
So now let's talk about this, because you're like a celebrity now. You're like a television celebrity. Everybody has seen you everywhere. So you were on the show Top Chef Masters. You've had some other things. How did all the television stuff come about for you?
It's interesting. And I think that if I was not a chef, I was going to be a communicator. I don't even know what I went to law school. I should be a reporter or something. I love to communicate, either being a teacher or a reporter. I always had that in me. And, one day I remember it was Valentine's Day, and my restaurant was completely packed. I had 40 seats, in which, it was very quaint. I was the one cooking and making all the food. And I had a couple of friends in the front of the house taking orders, and beautiful crew, but very small. And this crew of 3-4 people come in and they say, listen, we didn't make a reservation anywhere and we would like to have dinner here. And I'm like, well, I have the bar. I will be more than happy to serve you. It's, it's a prefix menu and this is what I have. So they sat down, they ate, and after they finished, they waited for me. I came out and they said, listen, we are from MGM, Casa Club TV in Argentina. We're doing a piece on all the best, most hidden gems in Miami and in the US. And we love your restaurant. We want to interview you. They came the next day. They did an interview for me for 15 minutes. I became part of this, hidden gems in Miami, one of the US spots that they picked. And about 3 months after, the network was calling me because they want to offer me a show. And then when I was doing that show, another network, Fox, called me. They say, we want to take you away from that. What do we need to do for you to become one of our talent? And then I switched. And it took me, 8 years to going to Argentina and doing the primetime shows, daytime, step-by-step concept of cuisine that, you do class by class and step by step. And that's, developed my muscle of doing all these shows. And then, here back in Miami, I went to Telemundo for many years, Univision, endorsements. And then, my life changed when I did a documentary that I was called Latinos in America, and Soledad O'Brien followed my career for about 6 months. And I became part of this huge documentary that opened the doors, not only in the entire world, but also to all the networks in English. And I started by doing Top Chef Masters, then America's Next Great Restaurant. I was a food fighter in the food fighter show of Universal and NBC. So all those things start to pick up, and then I started working with Kiss and Nickelodeon and my program Big Chef to Chef. I became a co-producer for a scripted chef telenovela in Nick, and that opened the doors also for all the shows that I have done with them, also producing. So a little bit of everything, and I just am passionate about what I do, and I grab that energy of that fountain of passion to be able to do everything.
I totally sense that right off the bat. There is no denying it. And it's funny because I can totally see how you would end up being on TV. You just have that dynamic personality that just kind of rolls and keeps going. So I'm not surprised by that at all.
Thank you.
Did you ever even envision this, like as a child, that this is where your life was going to be? I mean, it's hard to imagine. Right?
I remember the day that I stopped, that I said, listen, if I'm going to be working 15, 16, 18 hours for a company or a restaurant or a hotel or a chef, I want to do it for myself. And that was very risky. because I
Yeah.
left. I think that it was the exact moment, because I'm a Pisces, so I'm a dreamer, right? I can dream about doing all these incredible things, but when you actually make the step
Right.
and execute it, I was very scared, because I'm like, what am I doing? I was like, what am I doing? It's different to go into these incredible restaurants. I learned, from the best Michelin star chef. I traveled the world: Italy, France, Japan, Thailand. I mean, I went everywhere, and then thinking, okay, now it's what I put into it. You know what I mean? It's not I'm gonna call sick. No, it's if you call sick, it's you're on your own. And in making that step, and stepping into being an entrepreneur, it was the most scary things that I have done, but so rewarding, because again, it's everything that I put into it, and I saw the instant reward. I learned a ton. So imagine, I was able to really go in it in an early stage, then come out, because all these productions and TV, and the kind of my career kind of took shape, and now coming back with the restaurants of my dream, which is Chica.
I love it. Oh my God. Yeah. Just it's a crazy life. When I first kind of heard of you, I was down in at the HSN studios, because I was working with Wendy Williams. She had a clothing line there. So it was kind of the first time I'd heard of your name. And from there, I kind of kept following you and seeing what you were doing. And you had your cookware line as well there. That's why I say that, why I mentioned that. So how did you start that? Like, what was also the catalyst for wanting to do your cookware?
Absolutely.
You still do it. You still have it on HSN, right?
No, I don't, because I came in with Joy Mangano. I mean, the mother of inventions.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my school. Imagine, she trained me for about 6 months of how to be on HSN, and we co-created this line, Lorena Vela Cookware Collections. When she actually stepped out of HSN and sold the whole thing, my line was with it, as well as Ming. But let me tell you, I had the ride of my life, extremely successful line and project and time in HSN that I think they left me with so much experience in terms of being in front of the camera. Being there, how intense it is. It's minute by the minute. And there is so many things going on. You have the pitch, you have the ingredients, you have your product, you have the cooking, you have your co-host.
Yeah.
So it's like 5, 6, 7, and you need to be really prepared in order and do it in another language, because English is, of course, my second language. So with a little bit of an accent that I always have to work with. But very successful. I could have been more happier. I love and adore Joy Mangano. She's one of my mentors. She's still a dear friend. We always stay in touch, and let's see what the future will bring.
Yeah.
I'm working on other aspects of my brand, like Doña Rosario Latin Delights, which is at Walmart, and I'm super excited to launch my line of frozen desserts. So it's a little bit of everything.
Everything. Just other new stuff happening all the time.